Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Mucking Fun Day. How was your weekend? Do you have a good one or have a bad one? Let us know in the comments, as we are going to cover all the news that we could find that isn't about stock market crashes and a clown destroying the United States or other whatever we're always talking about every single day. We're going to talk about some other stories that are not about that. Okay, I'm sure you've heard enough about it. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we started, and we haven't had any caffeine. In this case, we haven't even slept in a bed. Roger is right here, fresh on the road in Utah, northern Utah. So let's get into our headlines and start the show. Today on Before Coffee, still no plan for millions of Ukrainians in the EU after the awaited ceasefire.
And we have the Yukon women winning the national title for a record 12 times.
Garonne and Loire, European rivers polluted by an alarming concentration of microplastics.
And more mucking fun day sports news. Olivier Ovechkin becomes the all-time goal scorer in the NHL.
In culture news, the Olivier Awards 2025. Giant Benjamin Button and Fiddler on the Roof triumph.
And it's National Coffee Cake Day, and it's also National Beer Day. That's a horrible combination, but it is April 7th, 2025 on Before Coffee.
It's okay if you gotta yell. It's better to hear you than to be like, what did he say?
It's better to hear me. Right. It's like, what does he say, bud? He's saying, I don't know.
He's talking about sports or something. He said to them their women's won an award or something. Anyway.
Something about bowling, I think. All right, spin the wheel.
Let's spin our wheel so we know what segue to use. That's still working for me anyways. I mean, I'm always freaking out of focus on my camera. It is haiku. So, well, I hope you have something. Haiku. Well, you can use your laptop to write it down even. Oh, you just have a pen and paper. Okay, perfect. Okay. Let's start with my first news story, which is coming out of the EU on Ukraine. This is from Eurosativ. Billions of Ukrainian refugees in the EU could see their legal status thrown into jeopardy, with no clear plan to allow them to stay after a ceasefire with Russia. Since Russia's invasion in February 2022, the EU's Temporary Protection Directive, TPD, has been a legal lifeline for nearly 4.3 million Ukrainians. It allows EU countries to grant Ukrainians the right to live, work, and access services, most settling in Poland, Germany, Czechia, and Slovakia. But with the ceasefire talks ongoing, the safety net could be pulled away. Recent surveys signal that the number of refugees planning to return to Ukraine is dropping. United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, data shows a drop from 65% in 2024 from 77% in the previous year. Yeah, I mean, the longer you stay in a place, the longer you're just like, I built a life here, man. My kids have friends, you know. They're already started learning the local language, for example. And now you want me to go back to Ukraine, which is going to need a lot of work, right? It's going to need a lot of work. And this is just from a ceasefire, not from an actual peace treaty or something where Russia is promising they totally won't do it again, you know? I wouldn't trust it myself. If I would just be like, this is just like another Crimea. They're going to be like, yeah, it's safe to live there now, and then they're going to attack us again. The share of those undecided rose to 24% in 2024 from 18%, and the number saying they have no hope of returning has more than doubled to 11% from 5%. The ceasefire could flip the script overnight, leaving host countries to decide whether to wind down these protections, push for integration, or nudge refugees back home. In a bloc frequently paralyzed by migration debates, any EU-level action to extend temporary protection once again is likely to be politically fraught. Mark Burns, the convicted felon Trump's spiritual advisor, I don't know, he had a spiritual advisor, what? Has visited the site of Russia's deadly April 4th strike when he urged the world to condemn the terror and stand with Ukraine. The TBD dubbed the EU asylum system Sleeping Beauty, that unused since its adoption in 2001. Yeah, so even though it's this temporary, nothing has been done with it until Russia's full-scale invasion triggered its first ever use. Last year, EU governments agreed to extend the TBD to March 2026, going well beyond its initial framework, which allowed for a 2-year protection period with a possible 1-year renewal. So it's only supposed to be 3 years, and they're about to go even. The extension is made year by year, but they want to extend it by 2 years almost, really. There could be future extensions again, according to Jasmine Slotius, Deputy Director of Migration Policy Institute in Europe. However, while the directive has offered quick protection, its temporary nature creates drawbacks for Ukrainians. If you only have 1 year's legal status, securing a long-term rental agreement becomes very difficult, Slotius said. Employers are not as likely to offer you a contract. Yeah, you could be kicked out of the country next year. Protection levels also vary by country. Each EU country interprets a directive in slightly different ways. In their national law, meaning Ukrainians are treated differently depending on where they settle. Ain't that the truth? The Commission said it started looking at the next steps, including whether or not to extend temporary protections, help people switch to national statuses for work, study, or family reunification, and support those who chose to return to Ukraine. Czech center-right Interior Minister Vít Rakusan confirmed that Czechia, along with Germany and the Commission, is actively involved in shaping a joint response under the Polish presidency. But the specific conditions are yet to be negotiated, Rakusan said. The Council said to address the issues at the next Home Affairs Council in June, Eurocitiv has learned. Any decision to end temporary protections will need agreement from all member states, Czech Interior Minister spokesperson Hanna Mala confirmed, adding the expected common EU position to be reached in the first half of this year. So, definitely by June. Also, hello, traveler. Have a good train ride to work. And have a good day at work, too, because we know that can be rough on a Monday. Some countries aren't waiting for Brussels and have taken action to find more long-term regular status, Lochias said. Poland will soon offer a 3-year national temporary residence status to Ukrainians who have an uninterrupted temporary protection for at least a year. So if you've been living in Poland for at least a year, but not going anywhere else, you haven't broken any laws or anything, you may be offered a 3-year temporary residence. In Czechia, a new special 5-year wow, Czechia really loves their Ukrainians. They're giving a 5-year residence permit will be available for Ukrainians who have lived there for over 2 years and are employed, with mandatory school attendance for their children. But even Prague, one of the biggest host countries, has made it clear it won't issue a new temporary protection once the war is over, the Interior Minister said on Twitter. Yeah, if you're here and the war ends and you haven't already had your 5-year or 3-year temporary visa, you're not going to get one. Other capitals are drawing up on their own plans. Austria, Italy, Estonia, and Latvia are stepping up with long-term solutions with varying levels of protection. Germany's Interior Minister said it has already developed options for action, but it's up to the next government to decide what proposal will actually be put forward on the issue, emphasizing the need for a cohesive European approach. The Slovak Interior Ministry confirmed the further steps regarding displaced persons after an end of the Russian invasion are currently being discussed at the level of member states, including Slovakia, as well as EU level. This report was by Anita Zakova, Alexandra Kristostek, Nick Alipur, and Natalia Selenska, and was reprinted I think it was actually on their newspaper, but they put it on digital as well. So there's your news from Ukraine's, refugees. There's future status that may be harder to hold on to or easier to, depending on where you live. I really wish they said anything about the Netherlands, because we do have Ukrainians living in our village. And because they're part of the village now for 3 years, you start caring about them. And it would really be a shame to see all those young kids, that I see around the village being displaced again, because the Netherlands doesn't have a really good follow-up to any sort of ceasefire or anything. But maybe they haven't talked about it yet. Maybe they're just There was a lot of drama here last week because the government hasn't been doing anything for anybody, right? They just argue about, oh, we need to stop immigration and we need to kiss Trump's ass, but they're not actually passing any laws for people who need help right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, been a bit of a standstill, and even a politician said this coalition is broken, and this coalition is not working. So, that's my news coming out of EU. Give me a haiku.
Same old, same old. Oh, I had haiku, right?
Yeah.
I had a country, now I have uncertainty. Way to go, fascists.
I don't know where I will be in the next 2 days, let alone year.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
On to the wheel, I guess.
Also, Chris Lowe says, how you doing, mate? Because he's from Australia. I'm not going to do an Australian accent.
Yep. I'm all right.
I'll be cursing all over the stream if I do that.
Utah. The sun's coming up, though.
Yeah, maybe we'll see those mountains by the end of the show.
That's what I was going to say. For sure, it's going to get lighter. That's my prediction. My prediction, darkness will be overcome by light. I like that one. Anyway.
Okay, that reminds me of a song, so let's get into your story about basketball.
Song about the Huskies, perhaps. Yukon Huskies dominate South Carolina, wins 12th national title. From ESPN's Michael Volpol.
Punched my mic.
It's been a 9-year wait for Yukon to get its 12th national championship, but after the number 2 seed Huskies finished their run through the number 1 seed, USC, UCLA, and 82-59 to South Carolina in the NCAA final on Sunday. They won a title that means a little more because of the journey that came before it. After winning 4 championships in a row from 2013 and 2016 behind superstar Brianna Stewart, the Huskies...
No relation.
The Huskies hit a series of roadblocks with tough losses, injury heartbreaks. But on Sunday, the Huskies moved to the top of the women's basketball world against sending senior guard Paige Bookins, who's expected to be the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft on April 15th, out with her first national championship. The tearful Bookers, I was say Bookins, okay? Bookers buried her face in Coach Gino Ariema's shoulder as they hugged at the sideline when she exited the game with just over a minute left. Mission at last accomplished. It's been a story of resilience, of gratitude, overcoming adversity, and just responding to life's challenges, she said. Guards Bookers and Azzy Food missed most of last season with a knee injury, healthy at the same time. And the top freshman in the nation and forward Sarah Strong, Yukon looked like so many of its championship teams of old. Not just the best team, but also the team that played the best. Foot and Strong finished with 24 points each, and Bookers added 17 for efforts. Food was named the most outstanding player in the final. Freshman Joyce Edwards and sophomore Tessa Johnson led South Carolina with 10 points each, as the Gamecocks fell short of repeating as national champions, finished 35-4. So 10 points are the fewest by any team's leading score in the women's NCAA final. Yukon now has 12 wins in the Final Four by 20 or more points. All other teams in Division I history have combined 11. Women's basketball has been pretty top-heavy.
Yeah.
And Yukon's been an advantage of that. The Huskies' 23-point margin of victory ties for the third longest in championship game history, behind 2 previous Yukon teams that won by 33 and by 31 points. This is some ass people. Yep. They did a masterful job in executing on both sides of the basketball. South Carolina coach Don Staley said. Bookers was asked before Sunday's game how she would like to be remembered at Yukon. As a great teammate, a great leader. I think those are the two most important things to me. Just being somebody that people love to play with, make their teammates better. There's a Yukon jersey with pride, she said. Now she also will be remembered as a national champion. Admittedly, there were points in her career that didn't seem as though it would happen. Yukon's disappointments go back, in fact, to the end of their 111-game winning streak at the Final Four in 2017 in Dallas. The Huskies were defeated on a buzzer beater in overtime in the national semifinals by Mississippi State. Imagine winning 111 games. I mean, that's ridiculous. Then in 2018, 2019, 2021, and 2024, the Huskies also lost in the semifinals, fell in the 2022 championship game with South Carolina, and missed the 23 Final Four. The only time since an Elite Eight loss in 2007, the Huskies had not made the season's final weekend. Bookers missed the 2022 season with food out last season. The Huskies went down to the wire with Iowa in the semifinal, but lost 79-60. That set up a lot of pressure on Bookers and the Huskies to make their dreams come true this year. Remind you of a song this yet? Yukon wasn't perfect this season, and they had, as has been the case with 6 of the school's former championship teams, but after an 80-76 loss at Tennessee on February 6th, the Huskies did not lose another game. They won the Big East regular season titles and dominated their way through the NCAA tournament, including wins over number 1 seeds USC, number 1 UCLA, and number 1 South Carolina. We finished at 37-3. On Sunday, the Huskies took a 19-14 lead after the first quarter that featured a very fast pace and some intensive defense inside Yukon. Huskies set the total by shooting 52.9% from the field in the opening period while holding the Gamecocks to 40%. Unlike UCLA in its semifinal loss to Yukon, South Carolina was working the ball into spots it wanted but didn't finish well. Strom's emphatic block of Raven Johnson layup 10th at the 9:04 mark of the second quarter sent a message as did her play throughout the first postseason. Strong set a record for points by a freshman in a single NCAA tournament with 114, passing Tennessee's Tamika Catchings, who had 111 in 1998. That year, incidentally, Strong's mother, Allison Feaster, led Harvard as a number 16 seed past the number 1 Stanford NCAA tournament. I won beacon the 16. Holy crap. And it was Harvard. Harvard. You got a song yet?
I've had a song since we started.
Feaster, Allison Feaster, Strong's mother, went on to a 10-year career in the WNBA where her daughter will be headed at a 10 year. And women's basketball is now more profitable to stay in college. A lot of college athletes is fine. Anyway, there's your women's tournament results. The men's tournament was all chalk. All number 1 seeds made the finals. And tonight, in the men's final, we have Houston versus Florida. Yay!
Two states I'm not a fan of.
Houston's a city, but whatever. Let's see what that sun's coming up.
All right.
Might have light.
Well, of course, it was very easy to be reminded of a song, which is "We Are the Champions, My Friend." That was like, come on, it's people winning a sports game. And that's the song you play, or maybe another one. Go.
I paid my dues. Time after time.
And their mom as well paid their dues, I guess.
I've done my sentence, but committed no crime.
Chris says you look like a trustworthy man, at least when it comes to basketball, I'm sure.
Yep, I always share the rock.
All right.
That's slang for
I'm going to write a
basketball.
limerick for this next, or You need to write a
Limerick,
limerick.
holy
Sorry,
shit,
you need to
limerick,
write a limerick for this next one. So, hope you have enough paper
Better pay
on that.
attention.
Enough room on your paper. We're talking about microplastics in our rivers and probably also in your body. This is coming off of Liberation. It's by Eleanor de Cerdo. Harmful to the health and the environment, capable of carrying bacteria and toxic products, these particles, often invisible to the naked eye, are omnipresent in the Seine, the Garonne, the Thames, and the Tiber, revealed the Tara Ocean Foundation this Monday, April 7th, in a unique study conducted since 2019. We know the scale of the catastrophe for the oceans. Microplastics, particles no larger than a grain of rice, have invaded the seas over the decades, with disastrous consequences for biodiversity and human health. But what about the rivers that crisscross our land, sometimes crossing cities before flowing into the sea? The Tara Ocean Foundation, after focusing on the Arctic and Mediterranean, has traveled along 9 European rivers from the Garonne to the Elbe via the Loire, the Seine, the Rhine, the Thames, the Ebro, the Rhone, and the Tiber. The objective? To collect the data to determine the degree of pollution in these major waterways and understand the flow of plastic waste into the ocean, at a first on a European scale. The conclusion is that all these rivers are polluted by microplastics, even showing an alarming concentration for the smallest particles. There is not a single sample where we did not find them, says Jean-François Delelon, Scientific Director of the Mission and Research Director at the CNRS Microbial Oceanography Laboratory in Bagnols-sur-Mer, Pyrenees Orientales. Oh, in Pyrenees Orientals? I can't believe there's a place called that. We compared the rivers because we hoped to classify them by pollution rate, but overall we were not able to scientifically show that one river is more polluted than the other. Yeah, but they're all just as polluted as each other. Well, you gotta give a hand for equality in the European river pollution area. From the 6-year land-sea mission, which began in 2019, the researchers produced 14 articles published Monday on April 7th in the journal Environmental Science and Pollution Research. The scientists, who collected some 2,700 samples, took their samples off the 9 estuaries and their mouths along the river, and upstream and downstream of the first major city on the river. The samples were taken using a net left behind on a boat to collect hundreds of cubic meters of water, thus measuring the concentration of microplastics. Interesting. So they not only saw where the exit was, the entrance, but also after and before cities to see if there's any difference in pollution. The fragments found are varying in sizes. Microplastics are larger than 2.5 centimeters, while mesoplastics are slightly smaller. Then there are large 0.5 millimeter to 5 millimeters or small microplastics, the latter invisible to the naked eye, measuring 0.025 millimeters to 0.5 millimeters. This difficulty didn't stop Alexandra Terhale, a CNRS research director specializing in analytical chemistry at the SoftMat laboratory at Toulouse 3 Paul Sabatier University, who participated in the mission. To be able to observe the smallest particles and see the invisible, we developed a new approach by weighing this pollution instead of counting it, which represents a technological breakthrough. She explained, on average, the researchers found that 3 large microplastics per cubic meter of water. The Seine has an average annual flow rate of 300 meters per second. This means that 900 particles of large microplastics pass before our eyes every second, explains Jean-François Gillion. Globally, between 8 and 12 million tons of plastic flow from the rivers to oceans each year. 12 million tons! Wow! That's a lot of elephants. Concretely, large microplastics float while small microplastics swarm to the river throughout the water column from the surface to the depths. They are up to 1,000 times more numerous in number and mass than large microplastic. It's a real paradigm shift, says Jean-François Gillion. Scientists have been very interested in the large microplastics because they are easy to study, but they are only the tip of the iceberg, he continues. We have found small microplastics up to 100 micrograms per meter. Other pollutants never reach these values. Wow, so there's more microplastics than any other pollutants in the water. 100 milligrams per liter.
Wow.
Alexandra tells...
Zoinks.
Yeah, Alexandra Terhale agrees. Even more likely to be ingested at all levels of the food chain, from microzooplankton to fish, these tiny particles pose health risks little known to science. I might be able to like craft something after drinking all these microplastics, you know? Maybe in my body I can like craft a new liver. That'd be cool. Another major issue, microplastics are rafts for microorganisms, some of which are pathogenic. Oh, letting those bacteria spread. During their mission, scientists were able to demonstrate for the first time the presence of bacterium virulent for humans on microplastics from Loire, which can cause ear infections, soft tissue infections, peritonitis, and bacterium, i.e. a blood infection from bacteria. Worse, microplastics has a pollutant sponge effect carried towards the ocean. The particles accumulate on their surface. Pollutants present in the rivers, pesticides, hydrocarbons, heavy metals are attracted to those microplastics, so the piece of plastic thus aggregates a cocktail of chemicals that can prove toxic to an organism that ingests them, slowing their growth and affecting their reproduction. Wow, maybe that's why the birth rate's going down in EU. It's not societal. By distributing their metabolism and hormonal system. Not to mention the impact of chemicals added to plastics during their design. Of the 16,000 chemical additives identified, 25% have been known to be toxic. So, in addition to this mission, the Tara Ocean Foundation has organized a citizen science initiative with school children. Since 2020, approximately 12,000 students per year have trained to collect plastic waste to a specific protocol. This operation has revealed a major source of pollution. A quarter of the large microplastics collected on French riverbanks are not waste, but mermaid tears. These primary plastic granules used to make objects. There are leaks during the transport of these granules, even before they became objects, explains Alexandra Tehal. According to the foundation, these results demonstrate the futility of ocean cleanup projects. Oh no, that's not good news. Which failed to address the problem at its source. Good old production! Thanks, corporations, for dumping your plastic in the water. For 2 million tons of plastic manufactured worldwide in 1950, we have grown to 460 million tons in 2019. From 2 to 460, according to Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. If nothing is done to stem this scourge, production is expected to triple by 2060. For experts, the solutions are on land. We urgently need to improve waste collection and recycling, drastically reduce disposable plastics, and develop eco-design packaging. However, researchers are placing their hope primarily in international treaty against plastic pollution, which has been under negotiation since 2022. The fifth round of talks was held in South Korea at the end of 2024, but it ended in failure due to a lack of agreement between producing countries such as Saudi Arabia and Russia and the hundreds or so nations in favor of reducing plastic pollution. Talks will resume in Geneva in the summer of 2025 in an attempt to curb the explosion of this pollution. Great. Two people that we know are bad countries, well, two countries that have bad governments, I should say, stopping the rest of us from saving the planet from microplastics. We're going, not only are we going to burn to death, but we're also just going to burn to death from the inside. Sorry guys, no good news here. What a bummer, man.
Terrible. Nothing. It's not good Tuesday, Monday.
No, it isn't.
It's mucking fun day. Oh, limerick time. Microplastics are everywhere, in our water, in our food, and in our hair. I really do wish they weren't in my fish. Well, I guess I can eat this chair.
There's probably microplastics in the wood too, man. It's everywhere.
He holds up a wooden chair. Anyway.
That was a good one. Where is my here we go. I can play a little clap. Yeah, there we go.
Yay.
Let's roll that wheel for my segue.
Let's try to see the video here. 3 minutes.
All right, I have to come up with a hypothetical situation based off of your story.
Oh boy. Okay, that's a tough one. I'm really doing some brain work there. Okay, it's going to be about hockey. Good luck with that. It's not going to be a long story. So, there's your 2 hints. You might want to I better ready soon because it's a very 3 to 4 minutes. This is from NBC News. Let me take my glasses off so no glare. I can read without them because the words are big in this page. This is from NBC News. Rohan Nadkami. Ovechkin breaks the goal scoring record. Of course, Gretzky did it in far fewer years. Gretzky was not a big guy. Washington Capitals forward Alexander Ovechkin, Russian national, broke the long-standing NHL record for goals on Sunday, eclipsing the mark legendary Wayne Gretzky set more than 25 years ago. Ovechkin scored the record setter, his 895th, in the second period against the New York Islanders. The matchup was immediately paused, and a ceremony with Gretzky on site took place on the ice to commemorate the historic moment. What a day, huh? Ovechkin said at center ice. Like I always say, it's a team sport. Without my boys, the fans, the trainers, the coaches, I would never stand there. And I would never pass the great one. Fellas, thank you very much. I love you so much. Ovechkin, the number 1 overall pick in the 2004 NHL early entry draft, has been one of the NHL's most feared offensive players since his rookie season when he scored 52 goals.
Well, they have a long career in hockey, huh?
Yeah, considering the fact that I moved to DC, we moved to DC area before he was drafted. And we still lived there.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has scored at least 30 goals every year, excluding only the COVID short 2021 season. Ovechkin's professional career began in Russia in 2001 with Dynamo Moscow. He was such a highly touted NHL prospect that the Panthers even concocted a scheme to draft him in 2003, 1 year before he was officially eligible to be selected. At the time, the Panthers argued Ovechkin was old enough to meet the league's cutoff if his age would include leap years.
Bless you.
What does that even mean, leap years?
I don't know.
The tall, bruising forward with the incredibly strong shot, Ovechkin has gone on to set several scoring records, including most power play goals, most overtime goals, and most goals with a single team. He's also tied with Gretzky and Mike Bossy for most 50-goal seasons, and he's got a lot of gray hair. Ovechkin has also won a record 9 Maurice Ricard trophies, given annually to the NHL's top goal getter. He has won 3 MVP awards, and he led the Capitals to a Stanley Cup in the 2018, winning the Conn Smythe Trophy that year as the most valuable player in the playoffs. Ovechkin broke Gretzky's record despite multiple obstacles that inflated whatever his goal count ends up being. The 05 excuse me. Man. I need something. Maybe I just lozenge or something. 2004, the 2004-2005 NHL season, which would have been his first, was canceled because of a lockout.
Oh no.
The 12-13 season was shortened because of another lockout, and both the 20-21 seasons were shortened. Damn it. In the playoffs, Ovechkin has 72 goals in 151 games. Washington has not appeared in the Stanley Cup with Ovechkin outside of 2018, however, and has not made it beyond the first round of the postseason since then. As far as his future in Washington goes, Ovechkin signed a 5-year contract extension in 21 that runs through next season. In the past, he has hinted that 25-26 could be his final year in the NHL before his return to Russia. Okay, there's your story on hockey. And I sent you a video.
Yeah, I got it all ready. I had no idea hockey was so popular. But also, I guess here's a hypothetical for you. If somebody went into hockey, like what is that, like 30 years ago, they could still be having a job, and now he's going back to Russia. That's crazy. Like, or he's going...
Yeah, I know.
It must be totally different. Like, his life must be so different to, like, 30 years ago when he entered the NHL, right? If he goes back to Russia. Maybe he's been back since then? I don't know.
Well...
His life story, but...
He's a Putin supporter. He's a Putin supporter, so he's in favor in Russia. So, about that.
He better be, because he's going to have a rough time if he goes back.
You gotta learn how to fly, otherwise.
Yeah. They'll be like, I'm not going back to Russia. They're going to kill me when I get there. In a way, you're forced to be pro-Putin. All right.
Spin the wheel. We're going to have a mountain
Spin the wheel. We've got... Oh, what did it... I didn't even see what it was. We've got nothing. Oh, no. It's another hypothetical. You have to come up with a hypothetical.
All right.
We're going to talk about the Olivier Awards, which happened over the weekend. This is by Chris Weigand on The Guardian. John Lithgow, Imelda Staunton, Romola Garai, Leighton Williams are among the winners at the annual Stage Awards. The play Giant, which portrays children's author Roald Dahl, amid an outcry about his anti-Semitism, has triumphed at the Olivier Awards on a star-studded night at the Royal Albert Hall in London. U.S. star John Lithgow took home the Best Actor prize for his performance as Dahl. Elliot Levy won Best Supporting Actor for playing publisher Tom Moschler, and Mart Rosenblatt received the award for Best New Play. Giant is Rosenblatt's debut as a playwright and brought him a double victory at the Critics' Circle Theatre Awards in March, where he won for Most Promising Playwright and Best New Play. So everyone go see Giant, I guess. This is the big one on the stage this year. Giant ran last year, or I guess it's not running now. Oh no, here we go. Giant ran last year at the Royal Court in London and now will transfer to the West End later this month, with Lithgow and Levy resuming their roles, so you can see them in the West End this month. Lithgow thanked the audience for welcoming me to England and said, "It's not always easy when you welcome an American into your midst," highlighting that the moment was the more complicated than usual for relations between the US and the UK. He remembered seeing Laurence Olivier's astounding performance at the Old Vic in the play Dance of the Death in the late 1960s. "I have thought about him and stolen from him in just about every performance I've played on stage," he added. Giant's tally of 3 Olivier Awards on Sunday was matched by 2 musicals, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button and Fiddler on the Roof. The former, based on the short story by F. Scott Fitzgerald, with music and lyrics by Jethro Compton and Darren Clark, won Best New Musical. Outstanding musical contribution for Clark and Mark Aspinall's orchestrations and arrangements, and Best Actor in a Musical for John Dalglish as the hero who's born old and grows younger each day. Oh damn, they didn't have Brad Pitt there? That'd be funny. Seeing Brad Pitt on stage in a play. It was funny in the Thor stories, I think. Dalglish, who won an Olivier Award in 2015 for portraying Ray Davies in the Kinks musical Sunny Afternoon, said that his late mother had been his +1 on the occasion. He dedicated the award to her and said that she would have loved The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Previously staged at the Fringe venue Southwark Playhouse in 2019, it is now running in the West End's Ambassadors Theatre, which recently opened its own on-site custom-built pud for pickled crab, named after a Cornish watering hole in the musical. So you can go... I think all of these are probably going to be on the West End, which is why they're getting awards. So, these guys are good enough to be at the West End. Give them all their awards. Fiddler on the Roof, which received a 5-star Guardian review at Regent's Park Open Air Theatre and is transferring to the Barbican next month, has received a total of 13 Olivier nominations, equaling a record set by musical Hamilton in 2018. The classical musical, composed by Jerry Brock with lyrics by Sheldon Harnick and book by Joseph Stein, won 9 Tony Awards in 1965 for its original Broadway production. Director Jordan Fine's new production won Olivier's for Best Musical Revival, Best Set Design Tom Scutt, and Best Sound Design Nick Lidster. The ceremony, which celebrates the cream of London's theatre, was hosted by actors Beverly Knight, a winner at the 2023 awards, and Billy Porter, who is amazing. You should listen to all his music. I love Billy Porter. At least I think it's Billy Porter, unless I'm thinking of somebody else. Oh no, maybe no. I'm thinking of a different Porter who, but he does have good music though. Billy Porter. There's a lot of people with that last name probably in the UK. Who's starring as MC in Cabaret. Billy Porter is MC in Cabaret. It opened with Knight and Porter performing "Luck Be a Lady" from the musical Guys and Dolls. Romola Gaara received the unusual feat of beating herself to win the award for Best Actress in Supporting Role. She was in 2 different plays and she won against herself. She has been nominated twice in that category, recognized by her performance in Giant and The Years. The latter brought her the victory, The Years, based on Nobel Prize winner Annie Ernaux' memoir, The Years, at the Almeida Theatre. Also received the Best Director Prize, with Norwegian theatre maker Eline Arbo becoming the 6th woman to win the award at the Olivier's. Garay said The Years had been the greatest privilege of my life, and thanked my family of Annies. As all the cast share the main role of Annie as well as playing supporting characters, she called Arbo a genius who put all women's life on stage. Garay also thanked her husband for his support while she took on 2 productions at once. Yeah, that must have been rough. Arbo previously directed The Years for International Theatre Amsterdam, the world-renowned company, which also staged Robert Icke's modern-day version of Sophocles' Oedipus several years ago. Oedipus, which Icke directed with new West End cast, won Best Revival and Best Actress for Leslie Manville as Jocasta. You do realize I can hear you eating those in your microphone.
Sorry, really?
Yeah, of course. You're like shaking a plastic bag. So funny.
Sorry.
Anyways, I'm glad you're so entertained. Like watching a movie. Icke praised his 24-carat team, including the producer Sonia Friedman, he said the industry was lucky to have. Garay too thanked Friedman, who produced The Years. The experience of making Oedipus has been joyous for the ensemble, added Icke, who jokingly observed, "Incest really brings people together." Manville noted Icke's care and precision as director in her speech. For anyone who doesn't know, in Oedipus, he accidentally dates his mom, I believe, and then he kills himself.
He killed his father.
Yeah, he kills his own dad and then dates his own mom and doesn't realize it.
He's made the king.
Yep.
He's made the king because he killed the king, and then he marries his mom.
He gets the previous queen, who is his mom, and then he finds out, and then it's very sad. The award for the Best Actress in a Musical went to Imelda Staunton for her roof-raising turn in Hello, Dolly at the Palladium. It was Staunton's 14th nomination and 5th win at the Olivier's. The most lauded individual in the Olivier Award history is lighting designer Paul Constable, who has received 17 nominations and won her 6th award for Oliver, shared with Ben Jacobs. Constable, I said Oliver like that because I make exclamation point at the end. Constable announced her retirement from theater earlier this year. Okay, so she's like, I'm obviously the best at lighting, so I'm gonna retire and give somebody else a chance. 17 nominations in her lifetime. The prize for Best Theater Choreographer went to Christopher Wheeldon for Michael Jackson biodrama MJ the Musical. Best Costume Design went to Gabriella Slade for the colorful roller skater trains in Starlight Express. And Maimouna Memon took the award for Best Actress in Supporting Role in the music for Natasha Thiers, The Great Comet of 1812. Leighton Williams, meanwhile, became the first Olivier winner in history to be recognized for portraying an iceberg. He took Best Supporting Actor in a Musical for Zanny Titanic. Mark Anthony Carnage's Festin at the Royal Opera House won 2 prizes, Best New Opera Production and Outstanding Achievement in Opera for tenor Alan Clayton. The National Theatre, the Old Vic, and the Coliseum were among the major venues whose show's nomination did not result in a win. Although Rufus Norris received a special award for his 10-year tenure as director of the National Theatre. Established in 1976, the Olivier Awards are overseen by the Society of London Theatre. The winners are chosen by a team of industry figures and stage luminaires and theatre-loving members of the public. So that's their criteria. So you know a lot of people love the musicals and the theater shows and the operas that won this year. And I guess if you are interested in any of them, you can see them in the West End or any of the theaters in London. Check them out. I guess, especially Giant, I guess, which is just the darling of the season, even. It's been winning everywhere.
Yes, my hypothetical is, I guess. My hypothetical is, would you rather win one, like, say, a Tony Award and never win again, or just be nominated like a bunch of times and never win? But maybe at the end they give you a Lifetime Achievement Award.
I think for me,
Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah, I think for me, getting nominated is way more important because it keeps your name in the papers, right? Oh, got nominated again. Oh, who is this Allison? She keeps getting nominated, you know? Whereas you can win once and never get nominated again, and you might go into, like, nobody will remember you, right? It can happen.
And the winner gets to thank people, though. The winner gets to get up there and thank people. Oh, I'd like to thank my person who gave me my first bike ride.
So you would rather win once. I would rather not get nominated multiple times.
I'm putting it out there. I didn't make a choice.
Okay. But it sounds like you're arguing getting nominated multiple times.
Devil's advocate. There's got to be two sides. There's got to be two sides.
All right, let me roll my wheel, and we can get into this day in history.
You got two choices. You got to have two sides. And the choices are never win, but get nominated. Where you just
I've already chose that one. That's the one I chose.
I'm the world's all-time loser. And then they feel bad for you.
I mean, I want to take, what's his name? I can't remember the actor's name, but he said if you get nominated, you're already a winner. Okay, so I'm going to go with what he said. And I'm already a winner if I get nominated 20 times and everything, okay?
Susan Lucci is more known for losing Daytime Emmy Awards than she's for anything else. Nothing else. I don't even know what soap opera.
Maybe I'm just negative, but I don't even think if I got nominated, I don't think I'd ever win. I just don't think I have the luck to win anything. So.
Okay. This day in history.
Yep.
Did you spin the wheel?
Yep, I got to write a haiku, so give me something to write about.
Haiku. 1915, this day, Billie Holiday, one of the greatest American jazz singers from the 1930s and 40s, was born. Well, through the 50s also.
And she made those really perverse songs.
Billie Holiday? No, she sang Strange Fruit. That pissed off a lot of people.
Oh, okay.
No, Billie Holiday sang Strange Fruit, and it's like, oh my God, she's singing about lynching. Ban her.
Don't tell us the bad things we do. That makes me uncomfortable.
While they're happening, Strange Fruit. Check it out. We should have done a link to that video. 1922, the U.S. Secretary of the Interior, Albert Beacon Fall, secretly leased federal oil reserves to Mammoth Oil Company in return for cash gifts in what became known as the Teapot Dome Scandal.
Ooh.
And Warren G. Harding might have been impeached over that, except he died. 1927, the first public demonstration of one-way video phone occurred between Herbert Hoover, then the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, and in Washington, D.C., and officials in the American Telephone and Telegraph Company, or AT&T in New York City. The first public demonstration of a one-way video phone. So kind of a one-way video telephone call.
That's pretty cool.
TV broadcast, basically. A TV broadcast. 1933, some 8 months before Prohibition was repealed, low-alcohol beer became legal in the United States. The day subsequently was celebrated as National Beer Day.
Hey!
Yeah, it's National Beer Day today. 1939, Italian dictator, well, he directed a lot of horse shit. Anyway, man, I got dry, scratchy throat. Maybe I'm coming down with something. Maybe it's allergies.
It is April.
Wow. Italian dictator, let's do it again. 1939, Italian dictator Benito Mussolini made Albania a protectorate of the countries, installing Italy's Victor Emmanuel III as king, while Albanian king Zog the First went into exile. Mussolini
Zog the First.
throwing his weight around. Yeah. 1939, American director on this day, also 1939, American director Francis Ford Coppola was born. His films included The Godfather, Godfather Part 2, and Apocalypse Now. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. 1947, American industrialist Henry Ford died at the age of 83. He revolutionized the factory production with his assembly line methods and is founder of the Ford Motor Company. He was 83 years old. 1948, the World Health Organization, a specialized agency of the UN, was formally established. 1994, Rwandan Prime Minister Agatha, here's a name for you. A willing moderate Hutu was assassinated by Hutu soldiers a day after the deaths of Juvenal Habyarimana, president of Rwanda, and Cypria, Ntaryamira, president of Burundi, as Rwanda entered a period of anarchy and mass killing. Rwanda was a total fucking just awfulness. The butchery. In 1994. 2001, NASA launched the Mars Odyssey spacecraft, which reached Mars in October and transmitted photos and other data back to scientists on Earth. That's right, it takes 6 months to reach Mars. 2012, American television journalist Mike Wallace died at the age of 93. He was noted for his aggressive bruising style during interviews along running TV news magazine program 60 Minutes. Our featured event on this day on 1963, Jack Nicklaus' first Masters victory. Oh, big news in golf.
Oh, really?
American professional golfer Jack Nicklaus, a dominating figure in the world of golf from the 60s into the 80s. And the winner of 73 PGA Tour events of his career, won the Masters tournament at age 23 at this day in 1963. Well, goody for him. And Ravi Shankar's birthday today. Yeah, Ravi Shankar, born April 7th, 1920 in Varanasi, India. So, and he died December 11th, 2012 at the age of 92 in San Diego, California. Ravi Shankar, happy birthday. Of course, famously, or maybe not people know this, if you know who Nora Jones is, that's Nora Jones's father, Ravi Shankar. Other birthdays today, let's see. Jackie Chan, yes, Chinese actor and director, born in 1954. Happy birthday to Jackie Chan, turning 71 today. Man, it doesn't seem like he's that old. That'd be right. Also, Russell Crowe's birthday. Well, I know Russell Crowe's born in 1964. So Russell Crowe during 61 today. Could it be Russell Crowe is 10 years younger than Jackie Chan? That does not seem. Anyway. 1972, Tim Peake, a British astronaut and military officer, was born. And what days was it today? It's National No Housework Day. So I got that deep. I'm doing no housework today. It's National IEP Writing Day. I'll have to look that one up. It's National Girl Me Too Day. I guess that's the Me Too movement thing.
No, that sounds like girl, me too. That sounds more like that.
I have to look. There's two things I got to look up. It's National Beer Day and National Coffee Cake Day. So let's look up the IEP writing thing. Figure out what that is. National IEP writing is, get in depth in this. The first Monday in April is National IEP Writing Day to honor all special education teachers and team members who write individualized education programs for students with disabilities. So good for them, man. It's a job that's probably very rewarding, probably doesn't pay very well, but it's probably very difficult to do. And it's National Girl Me Too Day. Let's look that up. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 women walking. National Girl Me Too Day on April 7th recognizes the strength and endurance of women of all ages and an opportunity to show support for each other. That's it. That's all it is. I mean, it's nothing extravagant about that. Just support each other. Hey! And
I agree.
as a special added treat, we are going to
look at the mountains.
Yeah, I'm gonna see the mountains, man. Hold on a second. Pull over. Ooh, gotta move my phone. Look at that.
Look at that.
It's a panorama
Mostly
view.
a side of a car, but there.
That's my morning.
The sun is coming up.
Yeah, man. Really hot. See the sky. As I pull my pants up.
Now the geoguessers can guess where you are. Just from that image of the mountains. The Peaky White Mountains. And a little, what is that, a little farm?
All right, there's your panoramic view.
All right,
Got
this has
UN
been
days.
Allison here from the Netherlands. Oh, let me do my international days first, actually, and then also my haiku. It's also International Day of Reflection on the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. So take your time to reflect on not committing genocide. I know it's really hard for some of you guys out there to not kill an entire people because you don't like them. Just don't do it. So please stop doing that. It was the start of the 1994 genocide, which lasted 100 days from mid-July until mid-July 1994. Every year, mark this date on your calendar, the Rwanda genocide. It's also World Health Organization Day. You know, those evil people that saved us from the pandemic. Celebrate them, even as more and more idiots hate them and say that they're all liars and they're part of some sort of government conspiracy theory. Yeah, the conspiracy is saving your life from deadly disease. That's their conspiracy, okay? And for my haiku, we have foam-kissed lips curve up. Joyful moments savored slow. Life's simple pleasures. For National Beer Day. There you go. So this has been Allison from the Netherlands, Roger from Northern Utah, as we tie up another mucking fun day. Monday is now halfway over for me, and it's just starting for a lot of you, so take care of yourself out there, drink water, wear sunscreen, and let's go to our mic drop moment.
A health alert about a new study looking at microplastics.
It's
They
the
were found
microplastics.
everything from plastic containers to water bottles, and new research finds they may be impacting our brain tissue. Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Tara Narula.
Not our brain
please
tissue.
help break this down and help us understand this.
We're all chemicked up.
So microplastics are ubiquitous. They're
Not
found
brain
all
tissue.
over the planet. As you said, they
I'm gonna
come
be Dave
from
Bram
things
and Jim
like
Ford
plastic
this morning,
bags,
and I
plastic
already
food
have.
wrap, tires, cosmetics. And we know they're very small, tiny, less than 5 millimeters or the size of a pencil head. And we get exposed to them typically by the food we eat, what we're drinking,
imagine
or in the
eating
air.
thousands
Now, we've
of
seen
pencil
microplastics in
heads.
tissue samples in the human body before.
Yummy.
But this study specifically looked at autopsies of about
They had to
50
take that off the
individuals.
menu at
Their
my
brain,
school.
their liver, and their kidney tissue, and they found a few things, Robin. First of all,
Oh yeah,
they
our
found that the
brains have
levels of
microplastics. We just
went up
that's why
between
we're all
2016
idiots.
and
It's
2024
microplastics.
in
I wouldn't
the
be
brain and
surprised.
the liver. In the
Oh,
brain,
why are
they
we all
went up
dumb?
about
We're being
50%. They also
poisoned
saw
by
that the
microplastics.
brain had on average about 7 to 30
Yeah,
times
all our
more
synapses are
evidence
being
of
blocked off
microplastics
by
than the
little
liver and the
capsules that
kidney.
block the
They
ends.
looked at some individuals
Yeah,
with
more
which
dementia.
had higher
Yeah, we're all
levels
just
of
gonna be like, where
microplastics
am
in the
I?
brain.
I mean, that's
And
what
get
I'm
this,
gonna
when
be
they
like
looked
when
at
I'm
that
80.
brain And the amount of
Who am I? Where am
microplastics
I?
is equivalent to the weight of a plastic spoon, about 7 grams.
So how much do we know about the
A
danger?
plastic spoon? That's a lot
Not
of
enough
plastic.
at
I don't
all.
want
As
to
we've
eat a
seen the rise
plastic
in
spoon.
plastics over the last 30 years, we really have not understood the effects of these microplastics or the chemicals inside them, which is a whole nother topic.
Well, come on now.
In the human body.
You're
We don't
knocking it
know if
before
they
you
cause
try it.
disease. We don't know how they're getting in the brain.
I mean,
So
this is the
clearly we
point,
need
right? The
to
point of the
do
article
research
we
on
read
this.
is
We
like
do
the
need
problem
more
with
research on this, and
microplastics
this is
isn't just that we're
concerning,
eating it, but
you know,
that
as
people who
always,
are
folks
making the
listening to you
plastics
this
are putting
morning
toxic
and they're
materials in
leaning
them.
because you
It probably
resonate
wouldn't
so
be
well
terrible.
with folks, and they wanna know, okay, so what
Microplastics
do you
wouldn't be
recommend
as bad
if
for
they're
us,
feeling that
right?
maybe they are
If
ingesting
they
too
weren't
much of this?
toxic,
Right, and so
you
we
know?
don't really know how much.
If they were
we
more
don't have the
plant-based
ability to
plastic
measure
or
that, but
something,
there
they
are
might
things you
be
and I
not
can
as
do. We were
deadly
just talking
to
about swapping
you know,
out
our
some of
brain and our
plastic
liver.
containers for glass, for example. So not using those
It would just
plastic
be
water
made
bottles,
out of some
trying
sort
not
of.
to microwave plastic because that
Yeah,
heat
here you
will
go.
re-
Use wood
release
cutting
those
boards.
particles. Thinking about using wooden cutting boards.
Don't eat
for
your
example,
clothes.
Using
Use
those
glass.
recyclable bags instead of
White
the
plastic
plastic
water
ones. You want to
bottle.
vacuum, avoid ultra processed.
Yeah, this is. I'm probably getting a lot of
Use
microplastics
clothing that has
out of
natural
this, right? This
fibers as opposed
plastic
to
bottle
synthetic
here.
fibers. So lots of ways you can kind of look through your house and what you're doing on a daily basis and try to eliminate that exposure.
I was telling you that someone was telling me, and I didn't
But
know
for the
that
most
they
part, it's
continue
too late
to
for all
have
of
the
us.
water bottle in the car, and when it heats
We're all
up,
doomed.
that is something to be considered.
It's not the end of the
So
world, but it
metal
might be too late for most of
like
us.
what you're cooking
That
in, stainless steel or
reduce our
stainless
microplastic
steel,
intake.
non-stick surfaces cookware that can
We're just a
release it. So
Frankenstein that went
lots of little
crazy.
changes you can make.
We can make these little changes.
But the problem, the only reason I'm criticizing this argument is that it's putting the responsibility on the consumer, and I'd rather the people who are making the plastic stop making it. Yeah.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.